Hello everybody, it's your boy Mitch, and guess what? In a case of irony that, let's be honest, if you're an Ass4ult of YouTube, it's not really surprising, but for normies and for, well, feminists, this seems very, very surprising. Linda Sarsour has only gone and been accused of enabling sexual assault against a woman who worked for her. Well, imagine my shock, guys, a Muslim far-left feminist enabling this kind of stuff. Well, let's just get to the article, shall we? The inspiration behind the Women's March on DC, Linda Sarsour, has been accused of enabling the alleged sexual assault and harassment of a woman who worked for the feminist activist, according to the victim and two sources directly familiar with the matter. Allegations of groping and unwanted touching were allegedly brought to Sarsour during her time as executive director of the Arab American Association. In response, Sarsour and self-proclaimed champion of women attacked the woman bringing the allegations, often threatening and body-shaming her. These sources alleged. Ass4ult, the alleged victim, told the Daily Caller because the accused was a good Muslim who was always at the mosque. She oversaw an environment unsafe and abusive to women, said Ass4ult, a former employee at the Arab American Association. Women who put Sarsour on a pedestal for women's rights and empowerment deserve to know how she really treats us. Ass4ult is a 37-year-old New York native and was raised in a Muslim household. She's excited in 2009 to begin working at the Arab American Association in New York as a contractor. At the time, Sarsour was the executive director of the organisation. Ass4ult worked for Sarsour for almost a year, according to employment documents reviewed and authenticated by the DC. Ass4ult claims the Arab American Association was an unsafe workplace where she was allegedly sexually assaulted, body-shamed and intimidated. Oftentimes, Sarsour was directly involved, according to the ex-staffer's account. Now, this happened way back, and of course, as is the usual thing that goes on, the people who usually report this years after the fact aren't really telling the truth. Although we do know that in Muslim communities like this, women are hushed up and told to deal with this, and if they do try to go public with this, they will be attacked. So I'm kind of in two minds. I'm not really sure who to believe. I am definitely not surprised that Linda Sarsour would enable and hell even be directly involved in this kind of stuff. I mean, after all, she is somebody who thinks that Sharia law is perfectly fine and dandy. So I guess really it's kind of perfectly consistent with her views. What can I say? The problems began in early 2009 when a man named Majed Seif, who lived in the same building where the Arab American Association offices are located, allegedly began stalking Ass4ult. At least it's names, but the problem is, just because they name names doesn't mean anything happened. But I am going to err on the side of the victim. I'm going to trust but verify. I'm going to trust what she has to say about this. But that doesn't mean I believe her. He would stick up on me during times when no one was around. He would touch me. You could hear me scream at the top of my lungs, Asmi said. He would pin me against the wall and rub his crotch on me. Asmi claims one of Majed's alleged favourite pastimes was sticking up on her with a full erection. It was disgusting, she tells the caller. I ran the youth programme in the building, and with that comes bending down and talking to small children. You have no idea what it was like to stand up and feel that behind you. I couldn't scream because I didn't want to scare the child in front of me. It left me shaking. And to do that in front of kids, to do that in front of little children is just disgusting, if indeed this happened, and if it can be corroborated by anything else. This is pretty extreme, and the fact that Sarsour, the so-called champion of all the women's, during the Women's March, it was allegedly enabling this, makes it even worse. The Daily Caller is provided with a link to Seif's Facebook page and confirmed his identity, location and employment. So, this man is real, and his employment is real, and his location is real. So at least there's something that is correct about this, but of course, at the moment all we have is this woman's word. And there needs to be more people who may have witnessed these things to step forward and tell us about this, before I can really say for sure that she did it. I know that Introverted Smiles totally believes the victim. I would like to believe her 100%, but again, I can't. I have to be somewhat neutral just because of the nature of what's been going on recently. But again, it won't surprise me if she is telling the truth. Ass4ult says she went to the leadership at the organisation to report the sexual assault. She alleges she was dismissed by Sarsour outright. She called me a liar because something like this didn't happen to women who look like me. Asmi says, how dare I interrupt a TV news interview in the other room with my lies? So it seems like Linda Sarsour is far more interested in her fame, more interested in her name, far more interested in doing the activism than her own employees' safety. So really, it's more about looking the part. It's more like looking like she's a feminist, more looking like she supports the sisterhood, when really, deep down, she isn't about that at all. She is what half of her is. A Islamist. Ass4ult says Sarsour regularly body shamed her and enabled Seif's sexual assault. According to Fathelbab, Sarsour threatened legal and professional damage if she went public with the sexual assault claims. She told me that she had the right to sue me for false claims, Asmi recalls, adding that the assaulter allegedly had the right to be anywhere in the building he wanted. He has the ability to just go wherever he wants, do whatever he wants. Now, why is that? Why would she allow him to do whatever he wants? Was he some kind of backer to her? Did she know him very well? Or was there something else? Or is it, as I watched Introverted Smiles say, it was just a Muslim thing where these women like Fathelbab may not be the most modest, that's what he said, so they're treating her like that because they expect her to be more prim and proper. I don't know, but it's interesting. Sarsour is apparently a women's rights advocate, a women's rights champion. Well, apparently not, because this woman's rights is apparently being violated, and she's threatening her with legal and professional damage if she goes public. And now she's going public, so let's see if she does get sued. Let's see if Sarsour does anything. Let's see what happens afterwards. Desperate after multiple dismissals by Sarsour, the distraught employee says she went to the president of the board of directors, Ahmed Jaber. But why didn't she go to the police? Why is she trying to deal with this in-house? I think it's pretty clear Sarsour's going to be dismissing this and threatening her. I think the president's going to do the same. She should go to the police. But again, I'm only trying to see both sides here. Jaber told me my stalker was a God-fearing man who was always at the mosque, so he wouldn't be doing something like that, Fathelbab claims. He wanted to make it loud and clear this guy was a good Muslim and I was a bad Muslim for complaining. That's interesting, because he's seen as a good and proper Muslim. There's no way he would do such a thing to a woman. Whereas her complaining makes her a bad Muslim. Collectivism, people. Don't bother with it, okay? It's not worth it, no matter what the alt-right says. A furious Sarsour allegedly raged against Fathelbab for continuing to report her sexual assault in the building. According to Fathelbab, her allegations would result in her getting written up for disciplinary action. She told the DC she was once forced to talk to a detective from the Community Liaison Division about the consequences of making false claims to the authorities. It seems to me that they're trying to, in a way, from what this woman is saying, trying to make it out so that, look, you're just lying. Stop lying about this guy. He didn't do anything, even though she seems to be saying that, yes, he did do this. They're trying to stop her by maybe putting doubts in her head. This is quite psychologically damaging. After Fathelbab's contract was up, Sarsour allegedly threatened to keep her from working again in the city. She told me I'd never work in NYC ever again for as long as she lived. Asmi says, she kept her word. She had me fired from other jobs when she found out where I worked. She has kept me from obtaining any sort of steady employment for almost a decade. So that's very interesting. Even after all this happened, Sarsour has been stalking her herself, attacking her, doing what, well, SJWs do, getting people fired. Interesting, if true. The people who knew Fathelbab during her time at the Arab American Association spoke with the DC on condition of anonymity. Both corroborate her story, recalling that Asmi would return emotionally distressed and in a panic from work, often describing it as an unsafe work environment. So we have two anonymous sources that corroborate the story. But again, they're anonymous, so I have to take this with a pinch of salt. And the tactics that they're using, the tactics of threats, of getting this person fired, ruining her life so she doesn't say anything, I just think that's not something that a so-called champion of women's rights would do. Eh, feminists? You would think that a woman being sexually assaulted at work constantly would be protected by this Buddha-like figure. Well, apparently not. Apparently she was in on it, and apparently this guy was too much of a good Muslim to have done anything wrong. He didn't do nothing, guys, okay? Linda Sarsour hath spoken. I mean, the fact that she can do this, how she can get people fired over this is just insane. How much power does she have in NYC? I was assuming when I was reading this that, oh, she has no power at all. It's just a load of bragging. She was just bigging herself up. It was a bluff. No, apparently she does. And that's worrying that somebody like her can do that. Just her alone. Not getting other people to do it in her stead. Just interesting. Another New York political operative who spoke on condition of anonymity claims that Sarsour was militant against other women at the association. This operative, who has worked for over 12 years with the Arab American Association, says they remember Asmi and witnessed her getting harassed in the building. They made it about her weight, saying she was not attractive enough to be harassed, and then swept it under the rug. It was Linda Sarsour, Ahmad Jaber and Habib Judeh who took care of it. Habib Judeh is the vice president of the Arab American Association in New York. The source even identified Fathelbab's alleged assaulter without prompting, Majid Seif, the man who lived in the building. So more people are corroborating this, but again, anonymous. But this person apparently worked for 12 years and has labelled yet another person who was in on this. So it seems like the higher-ups were very interested in pushing this under the rug. Now, I don't know why this guy in particular needs to be protected. He just lived there. There must have been something else going on. Again, maybe it was religious reasons, maybe it's just prejudice, I don't know. But all that work for one man, it just doesn't add up. There's something more to this guy. And again, Linda Sarsour is not looking any better. Feminists, this is a woman that you fucking back, who you allowed to be a figurehead for you and for women, and for Muslim women. Just saying. The operative, who is a practicing Muslim in the community, says a toxic culture at the Arab American Association led to the environment of harassment. It's always going to be the woman's fault over there, and Sarsour was there to protect the men. She's not for other women. The only women she's for is for herself. It's interesting that she's only protecting these guys. What has she got to gain from that? Is it because these guys are the higher-ups and she's trying to please them, maybe? I don't know. But it's interesting to think about. Another New York political insider who has worked professionally with the Arab American Association for over a decade says this is not the first time they have heard a complaint like this. Sarsour is only a feminist outwardly, the insider said, on the condition of anonymity due to the source's current political position. Her interactions toward women in that building were atrocious. She would protect the patriarchy, and in return, they would promote her. Interesting that she's protecting the patriarchy, and in return they would promote her. So it is all about money. It is all about fame, about her name, as it was alluded to earlier on in the actual article. I guess to us, and to everybody else who watches me or other types of videos like me, it's really not surprising that it is all about virtue signalling and making a name for yourself and making loads of money. I think really it's more about the religion as well than it is women's rights. She couldn't give a shit. This is the skin that she wears to idiots to make herself and her Islamist allies look palatable to the American public. That's literally what it is. S3xual Bab's career has never recovered, however, after her nightmare at the Arab American Association. Just wait until more people start to talk, she says. Sarsour is no champion of women, she's an abuser of them. The DC has reached out to both Sarsour, the Women's March organisation, Majed Safe and the Arab American Association for comment multiple times over the last 48 hours. Our requests for comment have been met with silence. And that's the end of the article, and I think it's an eye-opener, if true, and it really shows how little feminists care about women. I mean, this isn't just one, okay? She's one of many who put on this outward veneer of being a champion for rights, but deep down inside, behind closed doors, they're anything but. And I, for one, am glad that stories like this are coming out, and I do hope these anonymous individuals are able to come forward publicly, and other people can come out publicly and actually corroborate the story and prove it, and not only send this man to jail, but ruin Sarsour, because we don't need people like Sarsour in this world. We don't. And I also hope that maybe people in the Muslim community see this, not just in America, but also in Britain, and realise that, yeah, they can't really stand with people like this. They can't just ignore them. They need to actually, you know, take control and get rid of these harmful people, because it's only going to make matters worse for them, and they're only going to radicalise more people. I hope all of that happens, but it probably won't. I'm not very positive at the moment. So anyway, guys, it's been your boy. I'll see you later.